Hey everyone, welcome to the Fast Friday Facts for January the 8th, 2021. Welcome to a brand new year. Glad to have you with us. Joining me today are Caleb Gresham and Laura Perry. They're going to help walk us through some things today so you don't have to just listen to me talk, and that's always a good thing. So I appreciate you joining us today. Hope that there's been a great week for all of you back after the holidays. We've been glad to have you back, excited to have the kids back with us, and so thanks for joining us today.
And I tell you, we have had an absolute great week back with our students and our staff. And man, there are a lot of things that are going on right now. The General Assembly has gavelled in the 2021 session, as well as we've received information recently from our health department about vaccination rollout. So Mr. Soul, can you kind of share with our viewers that information?
Sure, happy to do that. You're absolutely right. The 2021 General Assembly has begun this week. We'll be monitoring that to see what kind of impact it has on our schools and the decisions that will be made around things like in-person learning, around budgets. We know that that's important, and there are many other items, so we want you to know about that as well. If you'll look below this video in the description section, you'll be able to see that we've put a link in for the Legislative Research Commission, or LRC. And if you want to access a bill, or if you want to see how a bill has been filed, or how it's moving through the process, or what the calendar is, this is a great site for you to go to. Lots of information available to you there. You can also hear daily updates through KET. If you've never followed a legislative session, I would encourage you to do so, because it's a very, very enlightening experience. It keeps you up to speed and you know what's going on without having to rely on somebody else sharing information with you. The next thing that we are excited about is we know that there's a rollout of the COVID vaccine, and we know the governor has placed educators in Group 1B. And it seems to me that once Group 1A has finished their vaccination, that the educators in the state will be available to receive the vaccine. And we're excited about that because we believe it's an important step in the road back to some form of normal. And hopefully as the vaccine is administered to educators, the comfort of in-person learning will start to return. And we hope that it makes both the educator and the parents of students feel a little bit more comfortable. So we will keep everyone up to date on the rollout of the vaccine for Garrett County educators as we're made aware of what the schedule is and what that process looks like.
All right, so I know that next week we are going to be in our virtual learning model again for one more week to end the second 9 weeks. But after that, we're going to start into a hybrid schedule. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Sure, that's absolutely right. Next week is still virtual, and we've chosen to stay there because it does lead us through the end of the second 9 weeks. We think that's a good breaking point for the school year. The following Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, so the day after that, we do hope to return to in-person learning using a hybrid plan in all of our schools. And the hybrid plan is an A-B schedule, which we've identified as red, gold. The students on the red schedule are in school on Monday and Thursday. Students on the gold schedule are in school on Tuesday and Friday. And your school will let you know which schedule your child is on. All students are virtual on Wednesday, and this isn't a change for the high school or for the middle school. They've been utilizing this schedule back in the fall when we were able to go to our last in-person learning days. However, this is a new schedule for our elementary families.
Okay, thank you.
So most of you know that the governor issued a new executive order prior to Christmas. And just as schools were getting close to the break, this order came out. So some of you may not be as familiar with it as you might normally have been. And in that order, he gave us permission to continue in-person learning if a county was red, but there were some stipulations. And one of those stipulations was a district had to have a more aggressive plan than we had previously. More aggressive meaning more steps to improve things like social distancing. And we believe that the red-gold schedule has allowed us to do that at GCHS and GMS in the fall. However, we've not implemented that plan at the elementary because a number of things with our younger students. We wanted all of our students to be in person every day when possible. We felt, though, our high school and middle school students could probably function better on a hybrid than our elementary students could. And because all of our high school and middle school students were already in a one-to-one setting with Chromebooks. We also knew that the high school and middle school students were more likely to be able to be left at home by families in the days when they weren't in school. We also felt that elementary students were the ones who needed that more foundational school experience, the ones that the high school and middle school students had already experienced. So even though the GCHS and GMS were on a hybrid, we wanted to try to keep our elementary students on a traditional schedule through the fall. However, with this new order requiring a more aggressive plan, we do believe that moving to the hybrid red and gold schedule, our elementaries will be able to fulfill the requirement of being more aggressively taken care of. The hybrid lets us increase social distancing in the elementary classrooms to a greater degree than we could have before, and at the same time it makes it possible to begin transitioning students back to something that's more traditional looking in a school way. Many of our kindergarten students have only had a maximum of 14 days in the building, and our first grade students who were kindergartners last year had that year interrupted in March. So both grade levels have never experienced a full year of in-person learning. We also believe that there's great value in technology, but technology can't replace the experiences between a student and a caring, committed teacher. A caring, committed teacher who can see others and feed off of each of those students. They can see that body language and they can have that incredible interaction, which is never available to you virtually.
So I know that this has, it's created a dilemma about how long do we remain virtual, and what option will there be to get our students back into school as much as possible, even if it isn't every day.
So you're absolutely right. It's a tough decision for us to make, right? And we know it impacts everybody out there. But we believe being back in school is so important that that's the decision that we've made, is to look at the hybrid. We also know that making this decision could create some frustration for a lot of different people. We know that parents are going to face real challenges with childcare, and we know that teachers will face challenges in dealing with students who are present one day but not the next. And we also know that you're still not ready to bring your child back under this option, so we have to make sure you have another option, and so you can continue to have that virtual experience for those who don't want to come back. So let me explain the fact of choice here. If we were to stay all virtual, then there are no options for anyone. We would all be virtual, and for those who wanted students to be back for social interactions, or who had students desperate for emotional and mental connections, they just wouldn't have had that other than through a virtual experience. Now, the hybrid doesn't give every option. However, it does give parents the chance to consider sending your child to school twice a week for those experiences that they've always had in a school setting. And then parents who do prefer to stay virtual still have that option. The option of 5 days a week is still missing from the menu, and we hope that hybrid begins leading us back to that 5-day-a-week plan. We believe it becomes easier once the vaccines are more available. And we also believe that we may see a slow decline in numbers as we move further away from the holiday season. So our plan is to utilize this particular process for at least 4 weeks, and then we'll look at the vaccine distribution and the current conditions within the schools. And if we see that what we're doing, and that there is a decline in the overall numbers, that the distribution of the vaccine is back on a rise, then maybe we can look at more days than just the 2 for those students. We do believe that we need to look at the conditions in the school to determine if we should return to virtual ever, or if we can continue to go in person and maybe increase those numbers. So our thought is, if we have healthy students and a healthy staff, let's stay in person. If we do have a situation where we need to deal with a single class that has an issue, then let's make them virtual, but allow the school to continue to go. Or if we had to close a school like we did back in the fall with Paint Lick and allow the rest of the schools to continue, we'd like to do that as well. If we have a situation that's more prevalent though, something that impacts more than 1 or 2 schools, then perhaps we would make the decision to take the district back to all virtual. What I do know is this: we're committed to keeping our students and our staff as safe as possible. And in almost every case so far, the impact in our schools has been from the outside, not from within. So if we do have an internal spread, then we'll need to take a look at quarantining scenarios that I mentioned earlier. But if the issue can be isolated outside the school, let's continue to give students a chance to have some sense of normalcy. So is it a perfect plan? Absolutely not. Is this a plan that provides some options? Yes. Is this a plan that we want forever? No. And is this a plan others are using? Yes. So one of the things that I want to do is make sure that everyone understands this is not us working in isolation here. We've had conversation with multiple districts, and there have been multiple districts across the state who've been using hybrid plan, including at the elementary level throughout the year, and many are still moving that way. And I would remind you of why they're doing that is because of the value of the interaction between the teacher and the student and another student. I'll say again, nothing will replace the value of a caring, committed teacher interacting in the same classroom with students. And I truly believe that I love technology as much as anyone, but I love the power of the person even more. So do you guys think that covers it? Is that enough information today?
I think so.
It's a lot of information,
Right.
but one of the things that I can assure everyone is we are committed to having our students and staff healthy, but we're also committed to trying to get back to having some in-person capability as well. So Mr. I think it's a lot of information, but it's good information.
So I hope it does cover it for most people. We'll continue to monitor all the things that we've talked about today, the legislative session, the vaccines, and the in-person learning, as you just said, to make sure that we stay healthy. Thanks again for your time with us today, for scheduling this into your schedule so that you can get these updates. Thanks to Ms. Perry and Mr. Gresham for joining me today. Thanks also to our cameraman, Mr. Boland, who's taking care of helping us out today. On behalf of all of them, hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you virtually on Monday.